Good morning, guys. It's about 5 a.m. here. Today, I guess I wanted to go ahead and make my next video and talk a little bit about high and tight flags. I guess this can be a little bit more of an educational video, as well as talking about a couple of my predictions for the upcoming week. So I guess let's get right into it. What is a high and tight flag? Well, I like Bulkowski's description of it. He's really got a lot of great information on his website here. It's basically just a huge dictionary of his experiences trading every single different pattern you can think of. Anyways, he ranks the high and tight flag as the best performance rating out of the 23 setups that he has tested. He actually has had a huge amount of success with it, as you can see, even though he does highlight that it does fail. So I wouldn't trust it all the time. I just think that the setup that he does allows him to be correct most of the time with it. And I've tried to implement it into my own trading style. So what are some basics of it? You want it to be upward leading into the pattern. A high and tight flag really has to rocket on up. It has to go up. I've seen anywhere from 60 to 100%. He's got 90% here in a very short amount of time. It's got a very flat shape. In other words, it doesn't exactly look like a flag or pennant. It's just a pause in price. Volume usually recedes in it, and what I like about his description is it's confirmed as valid when the price closes above the highest peak in the pattern. So this would be your buy right here. He goes on to talk about a bunch of other descriptions here. Basically, the importance that I got from this is that it should be in a downtrend for about 3 to 6 months before this pattern starts. It needs to rise 50 to 100% in a short amount of time. It should have a 45-degree angle on its trend leading up to it. The pattern should be tight and not choppy. And the time frame of the flag should be less than 15 days across. Downtrending top, so the actual flag part itself tends to work best, and volume recedes. So let's go on and look at some examples of what I think might go up in the upcoming week. We've got legacy reserves right here. It's basically a penny stock, but I liked this chart because it allows me to demonstrate what a high and tight flag kind of looks like. So what I like to do is draw a pair. Another one of the rules is that you don't use the actual flag itself as a part of the drawing. So what I would do is go like this, and then go like this. And I'd be a buyer right here on this green candle because it breaks out of this. For more strict standards, like what Bulkowski suggested, is to be a buyer when it closes out over this right here, which would be over here, but I'm a little bit more aggressive in my trading. So I'd be a buyer right around these levels. Another thing that I found is a little bit different from his description is that volume, here's the money flow index down here, volume recedes, but only very slightly usually. And I like to see it up above this 80 level right here, which indicates strong buying even as the price continues to move downward here. A cool thing about, I love TradingView, but the cool thing about charts is that oftentimes you can find very similar patterns by cloning here. So the same thing works here. This would be, close to a high and tight flag. Clone it again. You can see this, right around here. These obviously aren't perfect drawings. And we are right here. And let's look at, let's not draw it out. Let's go ahead and just clone this again. And as we can see, we've got our volume declining here, which is pretty nice, but what's even better is we have a nice uptrend here on the money flow index. So we can see that there's more buyers coming into this market right here. One little thing that I have on my chart, it's a VWAP, Elliott wave indicator, is I like to see blue here right before it pops. So you can see that on each of these examples here, except for this one. But we see it here, and it recently just turned green again, and I'm going to be a buyer at these levels up here. So let's go on to my next guess, I guess. When identifying high and tight flags, one thing I like to do is look at the bar chart instead of the Heikin-Ashi, which is usually what I like to use because I think it gives a clearer indication of what's going on here. So we've got OREX. Take it from the bottom. Try to follow these bars, but keep it in a tight pattern right here. Parallel channel, something like this. So we can see that we are 10 days into this, and price finally hopped out of this channel right here. We've got 3 to 6 months of a downtrend before. Volume has receded, as we've talked about, yet stayed very high. And we have this nice blue that I like to see going into it. So I think that OREX might be a high and tight flag, and that we might see this continue on up there. So let's go on to my next prediction, CNAT. So we're starting to push out of this. This is exactly a 15-day flag here. We see our pole right here coming all the way down. We've got it, a general downtrend for, looks like, over 6 months here. And we can see that this bar finally popped up over the general trend. We also see that volume down here has receded, and usually I get excited when I see it drop and then rise again the next day, because that's how the pattern kind of goes, I think so. But I think CNAT might be a good candidate for a breakout here and a large move higher. Let's go over to Axis. I think Axis is one of my favorite ones. We're going to do a couple examples on this. So we can see a large downtrend happening here. We might start to see a cup with a handle form, but before that level we have to get up here to around the 330 range before we can start to see this cup with a handle pattern take place over here. But let's go ahead, because I think this is a good example of what some cup and handle or high tight flags look like here. So I would say this is our first one here. And we've got, my buy. These are just indicators here. We've got strong buy levels here. We can go ahead and see if it is our 45-degree angle that we like to see. This looks like it's a little bit underneath that. But generally, you can see that, it's about that 45-degree angle. You might have another one going on right here. See another one right here. Oops. Let's go ahead and fix that. Then we've got a really nice high and chart right here, high and tight pattern right here. And currently we're in this high and tight pattern. So price breaks out of this range right here. I'm definitely a buyer at this level. We have our relative strength index at the very top. It hasn't even moved once. Everything is at the absolute strength that we like to see it at. Again, our volume dips down to its lowest point before it takes off, and it moves up again, dips down, takes off again. And then you can see here that it's at the very top of the channel, and it dips down below this 80 line before coming back over it. Now this is a larger dip, which makes me curious whether or not it's going to be a high-end a cup with a handle chart, because volume is getting a little bit low. I start getting suspicious when it drops below about 50%. So we've got a little bit of room to go, but I think that this might be the bottom here, and we'll see some movement upwards here in the next couple of days as it breaks out above this. We've got the blue, we've got our angle, and let's go on to my next prediction. I guess I've already got some of these drawn in here. But this is the high and tight flag here that I'm looking at for this next week. You can see that we're about 8 days into it. This is not exactly the tightest high and tight. I'd like to see it closer to what these were down here. But otherwise, we have all of the indicators that we like to see on this chart. It can go just barely outside of it. Charting isn't, a perfect art, but I do like to stay pretty strict with my rules if it does go outside of it. It looks like it opened up here and then, quickly came back inside. So I would still count this as a high tight flag at this point. I guess the angle oscillator is a little bit, depending on where you move your, it's not quite as trustworthy, but generally what you like to see is a 45-degree angle moving up to this. So a 90-degree angle would be straight up. This is about as close to a 45-degree angle as you can get. Let's move on to my second to last prediction. You see here that OKIP has had a general downtrend for about 3 months before running up. This is a good example of what a tight flag would look like again. See that we've got 14 days here. And and 14 days there. It does drop below here. This was the low point, and you can still see that the buying pressure here is extremely high, and just reconfirmed that that was kind of a fluke day by the RSI moving back up over, and then we move into this period right here, which is fairly similar to the one that precedes it. I'm expecting this to move sideways for at least a few more days, but it's definitely on my radar right now for if it ends up going above this range. And we can see that we are a long ways away from the highs right now. We're basically just starting to come off the bottom. And what else do we have? I mean, volume continues to remain extremely strong here. There's a ton of buyers coming in. Our Lark-Lagur RSI is still just flat on the top. I'd like to see that. And we're getting this nice blue again. So this is going to be definitely on my buy list for next week. Look at the angle. You know, it's pretty close to 45. And let's go into my last prediction of QHC. And I think that QHC just came out of this high and tight flag here. We've got about 10 days on this. And it's finally broken above this range. So I'm going to see what happens this morning and hopefully try to catch some of this next leg up, see how long it goes. And we see our volume came down. It's hovering right above this 50 range. I'd like to see it start to curl back up very soon here. But this blue here has been followed by this Elliott wave green indicator that I've got, and all my other indicators are showing very, very high buying volume here. This is on the one-day chart. Anyways, you guys, I hope this maybe helped you learn about high and tight flags, maybe learn a couple of strategies that you can check out and try on your own. And I wish you the best of luck in this upcoming week. Thanks for watching. Bye.